Sometimes change arrives quietly, so quietly it's almost impossible to notice. But if you listen, it leaves a trace. Tonight, we simply observe. Some changes come without noise, without warning. Sometimes a person becomes more convenient to themselves. I've seen how it begins. She moved into the apartment in mid-September. Top floor, narrow hallway, low kitchen ceiling. She had to tilt her head slightly, as if the space were testing her habits. The elevator often stalled between floors. The cabin would freeze, the light flickering softly. Sometimes it felt like it was breathing. After the third time, she started taking the stairs. 6 flights, 48 steps. She counted them every time, not on purpose. If she didn't count, her steps would falter, and with them the feeling that something inside her was losing its balance. At 18, it became easier. At 48, calm. On the first night, she woke with the sense that she had forgotten something important. Not an item, not a task, a thought. She lay in the dark, trying to catch it, but it kept slipping away. The room was quiet. Even the pipes didn't make their usual dull knocking sound. Her phone was on the desk. She always left it on the windowsill. Always. Standing in the middle of the room, she tried to remember, had she gotten up during the night? Her memory didn't resist. It simply wasn't there. She told herself she must have moved it without noticing. Fine. The apartment was simple. A desk against the wall, a narrow bed, a closet. The wallpaper had faded into a color she couldn't quite name. In daylight, it seemed warm. In the evening, gray, as if the room's mood shifted with the sun. She was a literature major. Her handwriting was even, almost identical from line to line. When the letters aligned properly, something inside her aligned too. A few days later, she noticed some of her O's had become rounder. A small thing, if you didn't look closely. She looked closely, ran her finger over the page. The paper was pressed a little deeper, as if her hand had written with more certainty. She tried to repeat it. She couldn't. She closed the notebook, moved it farther from the edge of the desk. Small differences often say more than they seem. One evening, the apartment smelled like freshly washed laundry. Clean, cool. She hadn't done any laundry. The mug on the desk sat closer to the edge. She always placed it in the center. She nudged it back, a little more precisely, almost perfectly. She kept her hand there for a second, checking whether the distance from the edge was exact. Her fingers trembled, barely noticeable. A small thing, easy to ignore, but she couldn't. After that, she started photographing the room before leaving. Desk, bed, windowsill, pens, parallel. The first few days, nothing was different. That almost calmed her. Almost. On the third day, she thought the chair was angled differently. The shadow looked wrong. She zoomed in on the photo, studying the smallest shifts in the outline. The difference disappeared, but her heart was beating faster and the faint tension wouldn't leave. At the university, she stopped remembering how lectures ended. The last paragraphs in her notebook were neater than the first. One day, a sentence appeared in the margin. Stop counting the steps. She stared at it and felt no surprise, only a cold weight in her chest. During a seminar, the professor asked her to comment on a passage. She spoke calmly, almost without pauses. Her thoughts arranged themselves neatly. When she sat down, the girl next to her leaned closer. "You're kind of different today." "What do you mean?" "Calm. You usually second-guess yourself. Today, it's like you'd already decided everything." She nodded, smiled. Inside, something resisted. Is that really me? But her voice, her movements, her breathing, all of it moved steadily, without hesitation. That evening, she opened the voice recorder. Her voice sounded lower than usual, smoother, without its familiar hesitation. 20 seconds in, it became hard to breathe. It felt like she was listening to someone else. She pressed pause. Silence settled over the room. She whispered, "That's me." The words didn't convince her. Inside, something waited. Not anxious, patient. That same evening, she decided not to count the steps. By the third flight, her rhythm faltered. By the fourth, breathing became difficult. Her heart pounded. She whispered, 15, 16. The tension eased, but for a second, it felt as though someone nearby had felt relief with her. That night, she dreamed she was sitting at her desk. In the reflection, herself, back straighter, shoulders looser. When the reflection turned its head, she followed a fraction of a second later. She woke with the sense she had slept too deeply, as if someone had used that time. A week later, the first fracture appeared. In her black notebook, beneath her own entry, "You're rushing again. I already fixed it." The handwriting, hers, but steadier. She sat for a long time, staring at the line. Her fingers trembled. The thought did not. It's still me. But deep down, a small doubt lingered. What if it isn't? That evening, the apartment was quiet, books aligned, pens parallel, the bed made without a single crease. She didn't remember doing it. On the top shelf of the closet sat a box. Inside, photographs. In one, she had short hair, the date 3 years ago. She stared at it for a long time. There was no memory attached to it, no smell, no movement, no version of herself in that day. An entire day was gone. On her phone, messages to her friend. Calm, confident, slightly ironic. The style was hers, the tone wasn't. Her friend replied, "You're weirdly serious today. Everything okay?" She didn't remember sending anything serious. Sometimes everything is visible, even when no one is looking. On the desk lay a new sheet of paper. "I'll handle school. You're tired." Her fingers rested on the keyboard. The text appeared quickly. From the outside, she was just an ordinary, focused student. Sometimes she paused, as if listening, not to sounds, to the silence inside. Each time, that silence grew shorter, almost unnoticeable, almost unnecessary. Sometimes things don't end with a scream, but with order instead.
And if one day you stop counting the steps, pay attention to who reached the last one. Order settles in quietly, and sometimes it leaves more questions than answers.